Hi everybody, my name is Stephanie. Welcome to my channel. Today I am making a not-so-fierce 3D tiger cake. This tiger cake is inspired by a new favorite game of ours called My Little Scythe. My family really loves this game, and after playing it, I immediately knew I was turning the tiger from the game into a cake. In this video, I'm going to take you through all the steps in creating this 3D tiger cake. But before we get started, if you are not subscribed to my channel, will you please go down and hit the subscribe button? I have so much to show you, so let's get started. Okay, here we go. Since this is a tiger cake, we wanted the inside of the cake to look like a tiger too. So to do this, we've colored our cake batter orange and black, and then we're spooning it into our pans just like this. Just one spoonful on top of the next. Once we've got our pans filled, we're going to pop these into the oven to bake. We actually made 7 cakes in total. My first cake is an 8-inch round. I cut off the top and look at those stripes. They look cute. I get that on there and then I add the buttercream filling. This buttercream frosting that I'm using is pretty much one I got from Sugar Geek Show. If you're not following her, I really recommend that. And the cake recipe I'm using is an easy cake mix recipe. I'll put these links down below. My next cake layer is a 7-inch round cake. I get that on there and then I add more filling and then I add another 7-inch cake. I was worried about the cake not being wide enough, so then I trimmed off some of the cake on the back and placed it onto the sides. I don't think I actually needed to do that, but it worked out okay. Next, I'm trimming it into the body shape by cutting away some of the cake around the top. I love seeing those stripes. It looks so cute. Moving on to the arms. Here I'm adding another nut, and I'm brushing this nut with melted candy melts to cover it, and then I put my arms into place. And then one more nut to secure it. Make sure you screw these on really tight. These are so cool because you can bend them into any shape. Covered, I'm adding more cake. These are 2 6-inch round cakes. Next, I'm adding straws for the supports here. The reason why I'm going with straws here instead of another round of washers and nuts is because using these makes it easier to cut into. Once you add the nuts and washers, it's very hard to take apart to get to the cake part. So I'm showing you here that you can easily pull this board right off to get to the next layer of cake. Okay, and then I'm stacking up the last of my cake. I believe those are 2 7-inch round cakes on the top. He's a little bit wobbly as you can see here, but he was still completely sturdy. If you are worried about stability, please go thicker on the metal rods for the legs. Alright, Shelby is helping me out here with the Rice Krispie treats. We didn't really measure these out, we just sort of poured some marshmallows into the bowl, microwaved it until melted, and then mixed in the rice cereal. We did have to make a second batch because we kept eating it all. It's really good. To get Rice Krispies to stick to the structure, we're brushing it with melted marshmallows first. We then sprayed our hands with cooking spray and began sticking them to our structure. And we did the same for under the chin and for the arms. If I were to redo this, I would probably not do the chin in rice cereal because it kept falling off. I'd probably use modeling chocolate there. Next, I'm using my template to trim away some of the cake to get his belly just the right shape. I don't want to take off too much cake around his belly though, because this character is known for his insatiable appetite. Moving on to the face detail. Here I'm using cake pop filling to sculpt his face. I redid this a couple of times before getting it right. And that is the great thing about using cake pop filling instead of carving it out, because you can keep adjusting it until you get it just right. My original plan was to cover the Rice Krispies in buttercream frosting, but I felt like the legs weren't holding their shape well, so I decided to cover them completely in modeling chocolate. Modeling chocolate is only 2 ingredients. It's melted chocolate or candy melts mixed with corn syrup. To smooth it out, I'm using my flexible plastic smoothers. Next, I'm completely covering the cake sections with buttercream frosting. Once I have it all covered, I pop the entire cake into the refrigerator to chill. Let's bring this tiger to life. I've already colored my fondant orange, and I rolled it out to about 1/4 of an inch thick, and then I'm placing it onto my cake. Using my X-Acto knife, I cut away the excess around the top of the head and down the sides of the face, and then I smooth it out with a stray piece of fondant. To enhance these face details, I'm using a tool called a Dresden tool to press into the fondant to bring out these face details. If there are any air bubbles trapped under the fondant, just get those out with a small pin. I then cover my tiger in panels of fondant in the same way as before, and I'm trying to line up the seams the best that I can. The fondant will stick to the modeling chocolate with a little bit of water or edible glue. Next up are the eyes. The eyes are really important, so I made my own template by printing out a paper image from the internet. I roll out my fondant and I cut out the different parts of the eyes using my X-Acto knife. And then I add some white circles for the little light reflections, and I add a black strip of fondant for the eyelid. The eyes are getting attached to the cake with edible glue, and I continue adding the nose and some teeth. He's definitely not looking very vicious. Moving on to the hat. The hat is actually pretty easy. I'm just rolling out my fondant and then I'm draping it over the hat. And I'm cutting away the excess and smoothing it out. It wasn't perfect looking, but oh well, good enough. For the ear flaps on the hat, I'm using my flexible plastic smoother as a template. It just happened to be about the same size that I was looking for. And then I cut those out and attach that to the cake, and then I'm trimming it down just a tiny bit. Alright, now that I've got the hat all finished, I'm starting on the hair. I decided to use modeling chocolate here for the hair, but you could also use fondant with some Tylose powder. So I'm using my X-Acto knife here to cut out the big pieces of hair, and then I'm attaching them to the cake. I put these hair pieces all around the back of the head too. For the tiger's belly, I've colored some fondant a lighter shade of orange, and I cut out this cute belly shape, and then I'm attaching that. The tiger's arms have some shoulder armor on them. So to make this, I'm using my 6-wheel pastry cutter to cut out the strips of fondant, and then I attach them over onto the tiger's shoulders. Okay, the pants are up next. He's wearing these baggy, wrinkly pants, which make it a little bit easier because I don't have to make it so perfect. I'm using black fondant with Tylose powder, and I'm rolling it out pretty thin, and I'm pushing a skewer under the fondant to create the wrinkles, and then I attach those to the cake with edible glue. The shoes were quite easy. I'm using modeling chocolate that I'm wrapping around the bottom of the leg. And then Shelby and I created these little shoe shapes, and I'm pressing those into the leg too. They weren't perfect, but we just kept on smoothing out the modeling chocolate with our hands to smooth it out. We have a couple of stars to add to his clothes, so to make these, Shelby is rolling out some red fondant, and she's using a small star cookie cutter to cut out the shape. And then she's attaching that over onto the cake on the hat and on the pants. Moving on to the tail. We've gotten our orange modeling chocolate back out, and we're rolling it into a tail shape. To get this onto the wire easier, I'm cutting a slit into the tail, and then I'm sort of opening up that slit. And then we put it onto the wire and smooth that seam out with our hands. Next up are the hands. I'm making the hands out of modeling chocolate. First, I roll it into a ball, and then I push it onto the wire. Using my hands, I do the best I can to blend those seams together. And then I flatten the hand out and begin modeling it into the fish shape. He has more of a human-looking hand, so I'm using my own hand as the model. And I continue modeling it into the fish shape, creating the knuckles, and I'm using a modeling tool here to create the fingers. And then I also added a thumb. The last detail I'm adding are the stripes. I cut these out using a circle cutter, and I get those onto the tiger's arms, tail, and his face. We are all finished finally, yes! And we're just having fun now, cutting it in a crazy way to show you the stripes. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned how to make your own 3D tiger cake. If you have any ideas or suggestions for me, will you please tell me down in the comment section below? Also, if you're on social media, please go check me out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.